At this time, would everybody please rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 20th, 2017 meeting of the Revere Traffic Commission. Under the public hearings, we have two items on the agenda. We're going to take item number 2 first for Council Powers, and that is to amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, Handicap Parking Persons Areas, by inserting the following locations: 48 Java Street, 97 Sagamore Street, 51 Constitution Ave, and 770 Winthrop Ave. At this time, I will open this up to people who are in favor of these handicap parking signs. Council Powers.
There's one on Sagamore Street. Yeah, I would support that 100%. And I'm also, while I'm up here, so I'm going to be supportive of the resident parking on Sagamore Street, as well as Bellevue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. At this time, do I see any other supporters in the audience regarding the handicap parking signs, either at Jarvis, Sagamore, Constitution, or Winthrop Avenue? Seeing, hearing none, close that side of the public hearing, open up to opponents. Opponents, anybody here who wants to oppose these handicap signs? Seeing, hearing none, I'll open it up to the members of the commission. Officer Giannino, what is your findings on these locations?
All the applications and document notes are in for all of them. However, we do have Sagamore apparently has no driveway on Sagamore. I'd like to table the one for Jarvis Street to speak with the resident from Jarvis Street, because there is a driveway on Jarvis Street. No, Sagamore, the state, there's no driveway there. We have right here. It appears there's a driveway at Winthrop Avenue. Attached to the back of that one. The driveway. And the Constitution should be passed. So I would say Sagamore and Constitution, yes. If someone hears if someone's here from Jarvis, let them speak on it now. Otherwise, table it. And Winthrop Avenue, if they're a speaker on it, or table it, if they're here.
Okay, the first application is for 48 Java Street, which the recommendation at this time is to be tabled. Is that correct, Officer Gino? Okay. So is anyone here from Java Street that would like to come up and speak on behalf of this? We'll table this to the next meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. 97 Sagamore, Council, for the record, would Officer Giannino would?
They qualify. Applications in, they qualify.
Okay. So they have a qualified application that is in, according to Officer Giannino. Council Powers has already spoken in favor of this application. Would you like to speak again, Council?
The problem down there is that we're close to the MBTA station. We're close to an apartment building on Revere Street, and actually, we need the space down there without interruption coming from other areas. So I'm 100% supportive.
Right, and according to Officer Giannino's report, it does meet all the qualifications. So at this time, I entertain a motion to approve. Of a second? All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. 51 Constitution Avenue.
Thank you.
Is also in the same report as Officer Gino has submitted. It does pass all the requirements, And so at this time, do I entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I have a second. All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. 770 Winthrop Avenue, based on the information we have received on a report, the 77 Winthrop Avenue does have a driveway and does not meet the requirements. Is that correct, Officer Janino?
I'd like to table that one after we speak with the...
Oh, the owner? Okay. At this time, Officer Gino will request that we table this to the next regular meeting. All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. So item number 2 is done. So we revert back to public hearings, agenda item number 1, and this is to amend Title 10 of Schedule 9, resident sticker parking areas as follows. These are all the locations. Atlantic Avenue, both sides, the entire length. Bennington Street, both sides, the entire length. Bradstreet Avenue, both sides, the entire length. Sale Street, both ends, the entire length. Dolphin Avenue, both sides, the entire length. George Avenue, both sides, the entire length. Henry Street, both sides, the entire length. Jones Road, both sides, the entire length. Unity Avenue, both sides, the entire length. Wave Avenue, both sides, the entire length. Sagamore Streets, both ways, the entire length. Waverly Avenue, westerly, from Centennial Avenue to North Shore Road, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Walden Street, westerly, Shirley Ave to Beach Street, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At this time, I will open this up to proponents. We have councils representing that area in the audience. With Ms. McKenna, would you like to speak before the commission?
Yes, thank you. So what's happening now is these streets are designated for different times. I think it's 9 to 12. And what's happening is second shifts are coming in. They're parking in front of these signs, and they're going on the train station. Beachmont has a real difficult time, the residents, to find parking spaces in front of their houses. So I'm asking to put an entire length so we can stop these people from parking in front of the residents' houses and going into the train stations. Bennington Street is only from address 11, which is in front of Charlie's Cleaners, to 145 on the borderline of Boston. What's happening is on that side, they're going to have 3 construction sites going up. So we want to make sure that the residents have plenty of parking to park there. And that's what I'm asking for. Unity Ave, I guess there's a question, Donnie. I know we've talked about it. There are businesses there. One side is permit parking, the other side is nothing. And I was talking to the Beachmont Improvement Committee last night. They don't think that there should be parking on both sides. It should be limited to one side and no parking on the other side, because it's a dead-end street and it's hard to turn around. So I don't know what your committee wants to do with that, but the businesses do need parking. So I suggest on Unity Ave maybe a 30-minute parking or a 15-minute parking.
I think that would have to be submitted as a separate request, Council.
Right.
So if you want to forward that to our next regular meeting for a public hearing, we can do that.
Okay. Well, this was approved a long time ago, and nothing's been done.
It's approved for,
It was a motion that was approved by the council, and now it's in front of you guys. And I think all of these streets have been, have signs, but Unity Ave is the only one
Okay,
that doesn't. And I think there's a problem because of that.
well, I think the issue at this point, Joanne, is it was approved by the council and not by the traffic commission.
Okay.
So if you could kindly put that paperwork together, Officer Janino, and we can take it up at our next meeting.
So I have to put in a different request for either no parking or a 30-minute,
Yes, because we need to
Business
know,
parking?
because presently there's resident parking on one side and anybody can park on the other side. We're going to need to know whether we're going to allow the businesses to utilize those parking spaces for a specific period of time, and then they would have to share that with the residents, so there'd be no parking on the other side. I don't know if we've investigated. Nick, have you gone down there and looked at the width of the road to see if it constitutes only parking on one side. So I think that needs to be looked at as well.
Can I just make one comment?
Sure.
People are parking there now and going into the train station, leaving their cars there.
Well,
So
we
right
always-
now, there is double parking there.
Even if we do maintain double parking on both sides, which may or not happen, we do need to limit the amount of time that they can park there
Okay.
to protect the businesses and the residents at the same time, if that's the way it does come out. But,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah. No, it's not, because this is actually the public hearing. You have to put the request in to submit it to the public hearing, then we can vote on it.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Chief.
recommend that one we lay on the table, because I wouldn't want to put permit parking there and hurt the businesses.
Well, at this point in time, that's not on the table. It's, Unity Ave is not on here.
Unity
on
Ave, Unity Ave has
it is on
permit
there.
parking
So I
on
would
one side.
recommend we lay Unity Ave on the table
Okay, I
and
just
go with
want
the
to,
30-minute
Yeah.
parking.
I just want to clarify that on one side, it already has permit parking. On the other side, I'm talking about the other side, on the
Right.
right-hand side has nothing.
Well, if we put the permit parking, then no one will be able to go in the businesses. So we should lay that on the table, and then
Okay.
we'll have a hearing for 30-minute parking for Unity Ave.
Before we vote on this, we have two other issues that we need to discuss, and that's Waverly Ave and Walden Street. I know that's the area in Ward 2. Councilor Novoselsky, if you'd like to come before the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ira Novoselsky, 53 Dehone Street, Ward 2 Councilor. On the Waverly Ave issue, it turns out that the signs have been on for permit parking have been posted for years, and nobody realized it wasn't on the books. So I'm trying to get it on the books. The neighbors want it. It's consistent with the other streets, with North Shore Road and Centennial Ave. But that's the only small, and it's a very small street, as you all know. So the neighbors do want it, they'd rather have it, and we're asking that the parking there be 9 to 5, because it's very, very close to the train station, and people are parking there going into Boston and not being bothered. So
To be clear, that's on the residential side.
that is on the residential side, because there's no parking on the other side anyway. So,
Yeah, and the other one is Walden Street, but while we're still on Waverly Avenue, I just have one question, Nick. Is this part of the safe routes to the Garfields? How
It
is this
is.
going to impact that? Is it going to be in conjunction with that? Because they are making, because they're actually taking some of these spots away at the bottom of Waverly.
that's
Right.
correct, that's correct.
Okay.
We
So it-
understand that.
All right, so those spots will still be coming out as well
That's
as
correct.
putting
It'll-
this on the books for the remainder of the street.
It'll be from the new butt out up to Centennial
Got it.
Ave.
Okay.
And the other one is Walden Street. And again, Walden Street is off Shirley Ave, between Shirley Ave and Beach Street, where the old fire station was. And people, there's only 4 or 5 parking spaces on the street as it is.
Right.
And people are parking there, going into Boston and not being touched. They're parking there all day, sometimes 2 and 3 days in a row. So we're asking, I put 9 to 5, so at least during the day, they can't stay there, and the residents that are there can park on the street during the day. So that's what we're asking for
Thank
those
you,
2
Counselor.
streets. Thank you.
So on amendment number 1, I have a motion from Chief Guido that these be approved with the exception of Unity Ave, that will be tabled until we take up the aspects of the business parking.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question. This says Bennington Street entire length. Can we eliminate from Winthrop Ave to past the cleaners?
She did.
Yeah, but that's not what this reads.
It's the addresses, Jimmy.
So we're amending it. Okay. So I just want that to be in the record, that the permit parking will start some point after the cleaners.
At number 11, correct, Chief.
All right, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. Okay, that ends this part of the public hearing meeting, and we'll move on to request. And we will start with item number 1, and this is to amend Schedule 8 of Title 10, parking restrictions generally by removing the location and direction from and to the type of parking. It will be from Stour Street easterly, from Breed Street, the entire length, no parking. Yeah.
This is the request for public
There,
hearing.
I just wanted, there are people here from Stour Street that may want to come up and speak on this. What we will have is, we'll have a brief conversation on this. We will order this to a public hearing, and then at the public hearing, then everybody who chooses to come before the commission to speak on this issue will be afforded the time to do that. But generally, at this point in time, this would be ordered to a public hearing, and any participation by the public will take place at that public hearing for the edification of the audience. So at this time, do I have a motion to?
Mr. Chairman, this going to, so
Yeah.
this essentially to allow parking on both sides.
Right.
Creating a one-way, like we did with the other streets.
Well, I think we need to go look at it. I know it's very tight down there, and I would like to hear from Officer LaSala to figure out what, he's grown up in that area, he knows what the safety issues are and things. Yeah, that's right. I get that. You're right. Yeah.
The way it is now, that the one side is being enforced.
Yeah.
You get fire engines down. To make it one way is, I think it's crazy because you've got Town Street, you've got Bryant Street, they're gonna be both ways. You've got that small road in the back that's not even a street. It's like an access road, these are all the schools. So it's hard.
Right.
The land goes down so far that you can get
It's
one
tight.
car
It's tight,
back
yeah.
in front of a fire engine. It's tough. You know, especially in the winter, there's holes in there, it floods, no lights, it's really bad. And I'll make it brief. The way the street is now,
Okay, very good. So do I have a motion to send to a public hearing? Yes. All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. Item number 2 would be to amend Schedule 5 of Title 10, one-way streets by adding the following. Stour Street northerly, the entire length. This was also part of Mr. Russo's conversation that will be taken up at the regular public hearing. Do I have a motion to send this to a public hearing? Second, all those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. This is ordered to a public hearing. Number 3 is to amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, handicap parking persons areas by inserting the following locations: 16 Lowell Street. At this time, I think we'll order this to a public hearing, but I received the communication that this may no longer be required. I just want to make sure that it remains on the agenda till we can confirm that.
If it is required, I'd like to have it put it immediately, based on
Okay.
the information I have here. If
Right.
it's not required, we'll pull it off.
Okay, so...
I'll make a motion to table the request for now.
Right, but at the request of Officer Janino, this is one of those touchy situations where we have a very sick person that lives in this house. There may be a reason not to have it, I understand. I just want to confirm that that's the fact before we remove it from the table. And the fact of that is, if she's still in need of it, we should put it up before the next public hearing on a 30-day trial basis, so we can accommodate the illness that's happening at this address. Yeah. No parking, there's no driveway, there's nothing. Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll order it to a public hearing, and we'll reach out to the people to see if they need this on an emergency basis. Item number 4, Sergeant Janino and Assistant School Superintendent Josh Vidala request that the Traffic Commission install a crosswalk on Revere Street at Roosevelt Street. Is Mr. Vidala in the audience? Okay. All right. So at this time, Julie,
Julie Demaro Rivera on the Move. Frank and I were out there today. I have a map of the area. We just want to make sure that the crosswalk is put in the right place and that it is compliant with the ADA requirements. So the crosswalk just can't go down where people want it to go. It really needs to be specific. Frank and I designated a place right across at the corner of Roosevelt and Revere Street, right outside the bus terminal.
Yeah, we
have
looked
the
at
map.
it, and there's enough room there, right on the easterly corner of Roosevelt and the westerly corner of Boston Street. There's room to put a crosswalk. There's one close, there's one further down that has to be blacked out. It's not a legal crosswalk. So I want to put it right here. And this one's got to be crossed out.
All right, just to clarify what's going on here, we got a visit from the Mass Labor Safety Board in regards to the schools and crossing guards. There was an injury back in March. One of the guards fell down and got hurt. They came out and they reviewed the area. We have a 15-page report in the city based on violations and stuff that they want corrected. The problem down here was the crossing, with the kids crossing the school, the lights. They were going out of the way to get over there. So unless the lights get moved over, they want to put a crosswalk across Revere Street to give them an access point. Leave the lights there. So during the daytime, if their students have to cross the street, they can cross the lights. It's another option. So all this is for, to be compliant with the labor board.
Do I have a motion to send this to a public hearing? All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. Item number 5, this is from Julie Demaro requesting to address the traffic commission in regards to adding a bike lane the entire length of Malden Street by adding bike showers and installing a bike box in the left lane from Malden Street to Broadway and adding a bike box in the turn left lane into entering Revere Street from Broadway. Mr. Morrow.
So these plans have been approved by the mayor's office, and we are working with the 2 city councilors in that area. I do have the striping plan that Nick Rystrom developed. It would be a shared use lane, would not be a designated lane. It would be chevrons posted every 250 feet along Malden Street from Washington Ave all the way down to Broadway. We want to add in the bike boxes to eliminate any conflict with cyclists turning left onto Broadway from Malden Street and then again turning left from Broadway onto the lower end of Revere Street. This will put the cyclists in a safe spot instead of them having to cross over lanes of traffic to take the left at the light because they should be following the rules of the road. I do have a small plan, and then I also have the larger plan downstairs that has the listing of the bike boxes where they would be.
Julie, is this sharrows in both directions?
It would be sharrows in both directions because of the parking requirements along Malden Street. We compared what we thought would work there with the MAPC's bicycle guide. They wanted to have a full designated bike lane on both sides. However, because of the parking restrictions, pretty much from Newhall Street up to Broadway, where you can park on either side, we felt it would be too confusing. So we decided to go with the shared use lane from all across. Okay.
Like we have on Broadway.
Yeah, so it'd be, but on both sides.
Motion to send to a public hearing?
All those in favor? Ayes, the ayes have it. Okay. That will close that side of the meeting, and now we'll have late communications. The first communication, late communication is from Council Novoselsky, and he's requesting that we put permit parking for Woods Avenue. We have a petition here signed by the residents of Woods Avenue. Yeah, Chris, if you want. At this time, I'll make a motion that we send this to a public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor? All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Item number two, the residents of Bellevue Street request permit parking. Council Powers.
As you know, Mr. Chairman, Bellevue is a very narrow street. We get a lot of people that use the T, that find it less expensive than parking in the garage and leaving their car there all day and going into Boston. So I've spoken with some of the residents down on Bellevue, and they do want resident parking down there. So I would hope that this would go to a public hearing and the commission would be supportive. Thank you.
At the request of Council Powers, I make a motion that we order this to a public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Ayes, the ayes have it. I have a request from the mayor's office to amend section 1032-211, commercial vehicle parking application for a permit from, subject to the following conditions: a resident may apply for a commercial vehicle parking permit. What's that? I don't have it.
The first part's already been approved by us.
How far down?
It's the second part, we want to do number 2 and number 3. That's the changes.
Just 2 and 3?
If you look at number 2 and number 3 on the second page, they're highlighted, bold. So we're changing number 2 and number 3 from the first one to the second one.
Okay, just the highlighted one you want to take? Okay.
That's what we're taking out. Mr. Chairman,
Chief Guido.
I have a question about if someone has a pickup truck, and just because it has a commercial plate, we're going to make them pay $420. So I'd like to know how this came about before I vote.
All right, this has already been passed. All we're doing is we're trying to clarify the weight, which right now says under 10,000 pounds, to 10,000 pounds
And above.
under.
And under.
So 10,000 pounds is the cutoff on it. The second one we're clarifying is if the business is out of the city.
You can't
So
get
if you
one.
know, if you have a business, if your company is in North Reading and you live in Revere, and you take your company vehicle home to Revere, you can get a permit on company letterhead. They're trying to clarify. We have a few companies that are out of the city, but the residents live in Revere, they own the companies or work in the companies, and they come back to Revere. We're trying to get them a permit.
So if the vehicle's under 10,000 pounds, but has a commercial plate, they have to pay $420.
That's already in the books, yes. In other towns, you can't park them anywhere. If you go over to Everett or over to Chelsea, you can't park them on the street. In Revere, they're allowed to park on the street with a permit.
Okay. So as Officer Gino stated, I'll read item number 2 and item number 3 on the changes. The commercial vehicle shall be registered with a Revere address or a letter from a business that the vehicle is registered to and must be submitted along with why a permit is required on a company letterhead. And the additional item number 3 is the clarification of what Officer Gino had stated, that the vehicle shall be 10,000 pounds or less gross manufacturer's weight. At this time, we order this to a public hearing, Chris, because it's an amendment to an existing, or can we vote on it at this point?
It has to go to public hearing.
Yep.
We're changing it around the wording on it to allow the
Yep.
other.
Okay, at this time, I make a motion that we submit this for a public hearing. All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Okay. Do I have a meeting to adjourn? Motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Those who came here this evening, these issues that were sent to a public hearing at the next regular meeting, you'll be able to come before the board and state your whatever concerns you may have concerning the changes that may or may not be made on your streets. Okay? It's next month. Hold on. The next regular meeting will be on August 24th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.